Okay, guys, so now we're going into the negative exponents. So with the negative exponents, like I mentioned beforehand, it is when you take your value, your expression, and you do the reciprocal. Okay, reciprocal means you flip it into a sort of fraction. Okay, so a raised to the negative n, I would remove this negative symbol. Okay, and put it as 1 over a over n. In other words, a n over 1 is flipped 1 over a n. So for any non-zero number a and any integer n, a negative n is the reciprocal of this a raised to the n. Also, the reciprocal of a raised to the negative n is a raised to the n. Okay? Reciprocal is just a fancy word for flip. So here we go. We got 2 raised to the negative 4. The negative tells me, it's a set of direction that tells me to flip it around as a fraction with a numerator of 1. So as you can see, it's 1 over 2 raised to the 4. And the last step is to simplify this denominator. 2 raised to the 4 is equivalent to 16. See how this became? Now this one is an opposite, okay? It's starting off as a fraction with the denominator of j raised to the negative 4. So this little set of directions tells me to do the opposite of what I see. So the opposite is to no longer have it as a fraction, but to have it as a regular expression that's not in fraction form. So then that's how we get the j4. In other words, if I have 1 over j raised to the 4, the reciprocal of this is to flip it around. J raised to the 4 over 1. But we don't keep the 1. We just keep it as this. So let's go ahead and practice. 6 raised to the negative 7. So what I do is I copy the 6, I copy the 7, and I just put it over under 1. And that's it. This negative tells me to put a 1 at the top. Now, the 6 raised to the 7, I can multiply my calculator and get the value of that. So let me go ahead and do that. In fact, I'm just going to use my Google search. So 6 raised to the 7, until we get our calculators already, is this big old number. Right? 279936. 279936. Oops, sorry. 27996. Okay, now here in this case, we have a product of powers. So we're going to embed what we learned yesterday into this expression now. So when we're multiplying two terms with the same base, all we do is add the exponents together. So 9 plus negative 5 is equivalent to 4. So my final answer will be y raised to the 4. In this case, even though I had a negative exponent, I didn't really have to do the inverse, like do the reciprocal of it, because it was already a product of powers and I could have just like added the exponents. But I could have, on the other hand, done the reciprocal first and whatever, but that would have been more complicated. So it's better just to add it. Okay, so the next one is x raised to the negative 5 and x raised to the 7. Okay, so this tells me to do the reciprocal of what I see. So x raised to the 5 over x raised to the 7. I'm just gonna flip around. So what I get is x raised to the 7 over x raised to the 5. And then I can now do my subtraction. So I could simplify this. And I can do the subtraction because if I notice the bases are the same. 7 minus 5 is 2. So then I get x raised to the 2. Okay? Now this one, it's similar to the example above. So I'm going to rewrite it without the negative. 1 x raised to the 10. And now my last step, my set of directions tells me to do the reciprocal. I'm going to flip it. So it's going to be x raised to the 10 over 1. Or, as we could say, any value over 1 we can keep without the denominator of 1. So x raised to the 10.